At 10:22 p.m., the last supporters file through the exits. The roar fades. The floodlights are still on, and somewhere beneath the stands, a radio crackles. A shift supervisor checks her clipboard. The second event of the evening is about to begin. A stadium that holds 70,000 people generates waste at a scale that most people never consider. Every seat, every aisle, every concession stand, each one becomes a point of accumulation over 3 to 4 hours of continuous activity. The volume is not random, it is predictable, and it has been planned for. The cleanup crew for a major stadium event numbers between 300 and 600 workers. They arrive in staggered shifts. Some were already inside during the match, stationed at concession points, monitoring restrooms, managing overflow. The rest enter through service gates the moment the public exits. The operation is divided into zones. Each zone has a team leader. Each team leader has a radio. Communication runs on a dedicated frequency, separate from security, separate from facilities management. The cleanup channel is quiet during the match. The moment the whistle blows, it activates. The upper tiers fill and empty differently than the lower bowl. Supporters who climb to the highest rows tend to generate more debris at stairwells and landings, areas where people pause, where food is balanced on ledges. The team leaders know this. The zone allocations reflect it. At large events, an estimated 12 to 18 tons of waste is generated. This is not a rough number. It is calculated from vendor sales data, attendance figures, and historical averages. Waste management contracts include projected tonnage. The logistics begin before the first ticket is even scanned. The concession stands are the first priority. Every food and beverage point must be cleared within the first 30 minutes of the post-event window. Unsold stock must be inventoried, hot surfaces cooled, grease traps logged. The vendors leave. The cleanup teams move in immediately after. The restrooms require a separate team. In a stadium of this scale, there may be 80 to 120 individual restroom points, gender-designated facilities, accessible units, family rooms. Each one must be assessed, cleaned, restocked, and signed off. The restroom supervisor carries a tablet and a checklist that runs to 4 pages. Beneath the stands, the tunnel system is already in motion. Stadium infrastructure tunnels carry waste to centralized collection points. Workers push large wheeled bins, some at 240 liters, others at 660, through concrete corridors that the public never accesses. These tunnels are lit by industrial strip lighting. The air smells of food and concrete. The pitch itself is not the cleanup team's domain tonight. The groundskeeping crew handles that separately. But the perimeter, the advertising boards, the dugout areas, the tunnel entrances, those fall inside the boundary of the post-match cleanup protocol. The boundary is documented. Every team knows exactly where their responsibility ends. Maria has worked post-match cleanup for 11 years. She started as a general operative and now leads a team of 22 across the upper-tier concourses. She says the first 15 minutes are the most important. If you don't establish rhythm early, she says, the whole flow breaks down. Her team begins in overlapping rows. Systematic, left to right. The seating bowl presents a different challenge. 70,000 seats generate 70,000 potential drop points. Cups wedged under seats, scarves forgotten on armrests, programs slid beneath the row. A basic sweep team can cover a section of 200 seats in approximately 12 minutes. The arithmetic of the full bowl takes hours. Not everything left behind is waste. Lost property accumulates quickly after a major event. Phones, wallets, children's clothing. One stadium's lost property log after a sold-out fixture recorded over 340 individual items in a single evening. Each one is bagged, tagged, and entered into a system. Most are claimed within 48 hours. The premium suites and hospitality boxes require a different approach. These spaces are catered during the event, staffed by separate personnel, and generate a distinct category of waste: glassware, cloth napkins, leftover food from serving platters. The hospitality cleaning team uses a trolley system. Everything is sorted, glass separate, linen separate, food waste. Waste segregation is not optional. Most major stadiums operate under contractual sustainability obligations. Recyclables must be separated from general waste. Compostable food matter goes into a separate stream. The sorting happens both at collection point and again at the dock. 2 layers of verification. Error rates are tracked monthly. By the 45-minute mark, the concourse zones are largely cleared. The upper tier is behind schedule by 6 minutes. A section near the northwest stairwell had a spilled food cart during the match. Additional resources redirected. The coordinator updates the zone board. The system absorbs the delay without alarm. The industrial cleaning machines enter the concourses at the 60-minute mark. Walk behind sweepers first, covering broad concrete areas at a consistent pace. Then the ride-on scrubbers, large, low-profile machines that pass over the concrete and leave it damp and clean. The sound they make is a low mechanical hum, regular, reliable. The medical room is also cleaned post-event. Any fixture at this scale has a first aid team on standby throughout. After the crowd clears, the medical bay must be cleaned, consumables restocked, and a brief incident log reviewed. It is a quiet room tonight. A disposable glove on the floor, a used ice pack in the bin, no complications this evening. Outside, the waste trucks have already begun their rotation. The stadium's loading dock operates on a timed bay allocation system. Each truck has an assigned window. The compactor trucks are heaviest. They leave first, routed to avoid residential streets. The recycling trucks follow a separate route. The entire logistical sequence was filed with the local authority 6 weeks ago. Inside the stadium's lower concourse, Darren is on his 4th hour. He has worked here for 7 years. Tuesday nights are usually the busiest. League games pull larger crowds than midweek cups. He moves without urgency. His pace is efficient. He has done this enough times to know where the debris concentrates without having to look. The VIP car park below the stadium has its own cleanup protocol. Premium guests park in designated spaces and are escorted out first. What remains is a thin layer of the event: ticket stubs, cigarette ends, a crushed program near the elevator entrance. One worker, one barrow, 40 minutes, done. The stadium's waste management system feeds into the city's broader infrastructure. The recycling collective here tonight will reach a materials recovery facility. By 6 a.m., the general waste goes to a transfer station. The compostable stream is collected separately and processed within 24 hours. Every stream has a destination. Nothing is left without a plan. Back inside the stadium, the 90-minute mark arrives. The seating bowl sweep is complete on 3 of the 4 tiers. The 4th tier, the away end, always takes longer. The density of debris there is higher. It is a consistent pattern. The team lead for that section builds extra time into every plan. Some of the crew have been here since the afternoon, setting up catering points, checking waste bin positions, confirming with the event logistics team. For them, tonight's cleanup is the final chapter of a 12-hour shift. They know the stadium differently than the fans do. They know its weight. The media rooms and press areas have their own post-event protocol. Journalists file their reports and leave quickly. What remains is a field of plastic cups, press passes on lanyards left on chairs, and a catering table that must be cleared and wiped down. A 2-person team handles it in under 30 minutes. Systematic, unremarkable. Beneath the pitch, the drainage system has been working all evening. Rain earlier in the day tested the drainage infrastructure, and it held. The groundskeeping team spent 20 minutes post-match on surface inspection, checking for soft spots near the center circle. No damage was noted. The pitch report goes into the system alongside the cleaning logs, everything connected. The kitchen areas behind the concession stands operate under food safety regulations that require post-event cleaning to a documented standard. Surfaces must reach a specific cleanliness level. Temperature logs must be checked and signed. The cleaning chemicals used are food grade, applied in sequence. The process is not fast. It is thorough. 2 hours in. The upper concourses are complete. The bowl sweep is 80% done. The service tunnels are running their final bin rotation. The dock is processing the 3rd truck. The control room coordinator marks 3 zones green, 2 remain yellow. 1 is still amber. The board shifts slowly, sector by sector. The security team is still on site. Their role during the cleanup phase is perimeter monitoring and access control. The stadium is not fully secured until cleanup is complete and all personnel have been logged out. Until then, every entry and exit is recorded. The building remains operational, the operation just becomes invisible. The stadium's energy management system also adjusts during the cleanup window. Sections that are confirmed complete have their lighting reduced to maintenance level. Full floodlighting is expensive. The system is smart enough to dim what is no longer needed while keeping active work zones fully illuminated. Energy cost is tracked zone by zone. The stadium's water consumption during cleanup is substantial. Industrial scrubbers draw from the building's water system. The restroom deep clean uses high-pressure lines. Grease traps are flushed. The figure for a major post-event clean can exceed 40,000 liters. The water bill is built into the operational cost model, anticipated, accounted for, normal. The away team's changing room requires a separate team. Visiting clubs typically clear out within 90 minutes post-match. After they leave, the room must be cleaned to the same standard as the home dressing room, which was cleaned at halftime. The physio table, the ice baths, the showers, the kit room, corridor, all of it, documented, inspected. The manager's office is off-limits to the cleaning crew without prior authorization. A protocol exists for exactly this kind of space. The door is sealed with a paper strip after the manager leaves. The strip is signed. If it is broken when the crew arrives to clean the following morning, it is flagged. Small detail, but a detail that protects everyone. At 1:15 a.m., the bowl is cleared. The coordinator confirms. The cleaning machines make one final pass across the lower concourse. The bin rotation is in its last cycle. The supervisors begin their walkthrough inspections, section by section, with a torch and a checklist. Anything missed gets flagged. The crew returns to correct it. The standard doesn't move. The corporate boxes on the east side have a different finish condition than general areas. Furniture must be repositioned, chairs back to their set layout, screens cleaned, minibars logged and restocked. The cleaning here is not just removing what was left, it is restoring what was expected. The guest who arrives next match should find it exactly as it was. The public toilets have been cleaned twice tonight, once during the event by the in-shift team, and now a full, deep clean. Floor tiles scrubbed with rotating brush machines, grout lines treated, fixtures disinfected, consumable dispensers refilled. A hygiene inspection sheet is completed for each unit and filed. The next event assumes a clean start. Outside in the car parks, the public areas are also being cleared. Barrier systems are collapsed and stored. Temporary signage is removed. Litter from the approaches and perimeter walkways is collected. Road sweepers pass through on a contracted run, independent of the stadium's own crew, coordinated with the local council's overnight schedule. The tunnel, the player access tunnel, is among the last areas addressed. During the match, it is one of the highest footfall corridors in the stadium. Players, officials, coaching staff, camera crews, media. After the match, the detritus of that movement remains. Turf grass tracked in, cable ties, tape, water bottle lids. A small team handles it with quiet precision. At the 2.5-hour mark, the coordinator calls a zone status review over the radio. Teams report in. 13 zones are green, 2 are yellow. 1, the Northwest Lower Concourse, reports a blocked drain that maintenance has been called to assess. It is not a crisis, but it means that zone cannot be signed off until maintenance clears it. The maintenance team that responds to drain issues operates under a separate call-out roster. They are on site throughout the event and for 3 hours after. Their job is infrastructure, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. Tonight, the drain issue is minor, a paper mass behind the grate. 12 minutes to clear, the zone is signed off at 2:09 a.m. The catering manager conducts her own walkthrough. She is not part of the cleaning team, but her sign-off is required for the kitchen areas before the facility can be declared clean. She checks temperature logs, checks that refrigeration units have been returned to correct settings, checks that the food waste records tally with what was disposed of. Her name goes on the report. By 2:30 a.m., the operation is winding down. The large cleaning machines have been returned to the equipment storage zone. The bin rotation is complete. The dock is running its final truck. The service tunnels are quiet. The corridor lights in completed sections have been dimmed. The stadium is beginning its return to silence. The groundskeepers are still working. The pitch does not clock off. Post-match turf repair can take until 4 a.m. on a bad night. Divots filled, wear zones treated, irrigation channels checked. The stadium might host another event in 4 days. The pitch has to be ready. It operates on a schedule with no slack. The remaining cleanup crew numbers around 40 now. The bulk of the work is done. What remains is final inspection passes and the late phase tasks. The player tunnel deep clean, the referee's room, the stadium's commercial office corridor, smaller, quieter, less visible work. But part of the same system. The stadium's overnight duty manager arrives at 3 a.m. Her role is handover. She walks the facility with the outgoing operations supervisor, checking zone reports, reviewing maintenance flags, signing off the final completion log. She will be the first point of contact if anything is found out of place during the morning opening checks. The baton passes. The workers who remain into the early hours operate in a different kind of quiet. The urgency of the first hour has passed. What remains is methodical, calm, unhurried. They work in near silence, broken only by the sound of equipment and the occasional crackle of a radio. The building hums around them, ventilation, refrigeration, electrical systems, all running. The stadium breathes. The stadium's CCTV continues to record throughout the overnight period. The footage is not reviewed in real time after the event crowd has cleared, but it is archived. If a complaint is filed about damage or loss after an event, the footage is the primary reference. The system operates on a 30-day rolling archive. It sees everything. It is almost never watched. A stadium like this has a second event next Saturday in 5 days. The cleaning log from tonight feeds directly into the pre-event preparation schedule for that fixture. What was noted, what was flagged, what was replaced, it all informs what happens before the next crowd arrives. The system learns from itself. Slowly, consistently, some parts of the stadium will not be fully cleaned tonight. The roof drainage systems, the inner wall cavity inspection points, the equipment rooms above the upper tier. These areas are maintained on a weekly or monthly schedule, not event by event. Tonight's crew flags them as out of scope. They go into a separate maintenance log. Different timeline, same system. By 4 a.m., the final team signs off. The zone board is all green, the completion log is closed. The stadium has been returned to a condition that the next guest will never think about, because it will simply appear as expected, unremarkable. As it should be. The success of this operation is its invisibility. The last vehicle leaves the loading dock at 4:18 a.m., a recycling truck. The security guard closes the dock gates and logs the time. The exterior is quiet. The street beyond the stadium perimeter has been cleared and swept. The area looks like it absorbed nothing tonight. That is the goal. In 5 hours, the administrative staff will begin arriving. They will walk through corridors that smell of cleaning product and cool air. They will turn on lights in offices that were closed at halftime. They will make coffee in kitchens that were deep cleaned between midnight and 2 a.m. They will not think about any of this. They do not need to. The scale of this operation shifts based on the event type. A sold-out league match generates different cleanup profiles than a cup final or a concert. Music events produce more general waste, more spilled drinks, more ground-level debris in seated areas. Sporting events produce more food wrapper concentration around concession zones. The model adjusts. The crew size adjusts. The plan is rewritten for every event. Not every stadium operates at this level of coordination. Older facilities may rely on smaller crews with fewer formal protocols, but the basic operational logic is consistent across all large venues. Accumulation must be cleared, surfaces must be returned to standard, the system must reset, the scale changes. The principles do not. The workers themselves rarely watch the events they clean after. Many of them have been inside the stadium for match days, but never from the stands. Their relationship to the building is through its infrastructure, its service entrances, its tunnels, its maintenance corridors. They know a different geography, one that most people in the crowd above them will never map. There is a concept in operations management called invisible work. It refers to tasks that are essential to a system's function, but go unacknowledged by those who benefit from them. Post-event stadium cleanup is a precise example. When it goes well, no one notices. When it fails, when the stadium opens to complaints about hygiene, blocked exits, or unsafe conditions, it becomes very visible very quickly. The stadium's environmental compliance officer will review tonight's waste logs by Thursday. Recycling rates, diversion targets, food waste volumes, all of it benchmarked against the facility's contractual sustainability commitments. The numbers from tonight will either meet the threshold or flag an area for improvement. The match score gets forgotten quickly. These numbers are in the file for years. The senior cleaning supervisor for tonight submitted her first shift report at 11:45 p.m. Her final sign-off came at 4:06 a.m., 4 hours and 21 minutes. She has done versions of this shift for 14 years. At different stadiums, different cities, the fundamentals do not change. It is always the drain in the northwest corner, she says. Every stadium outside, the city continues, night buses pass the stadium gates. A taxi slows near the main entrance, then moves on. The building is dark at the front. The loading dock at the rear has one light left on, no sound from inside. To anyone passing, the stadium is simply closed. What happened here tonight is already becoming invisible. This pattern, the event and its invisible aftermath, repeats across every major stadium, every weekend, across dozens of cities simultaneously. Different crew names, different drain problems, different zones, different checklists, but the same operational logic, the same invisible labor, the same commitment to returning a building to zero so it can fill again. As the sun rises, the first maintenance checks of the morning begin. The facilities team, separate from the overnight crew, walks the building with a punch list of post-event items to verify before the stadium opens for business at 8 a.m. They find everything in order. A note about the northwest drain, a low-stock flag on one restroom tissue dispenser, otherwise complete. The seats are empty, the air smells clean, the concessions are stocked, shutters still down, the tunnels are quiet, the pitch is immaculate. In 3 days, 70,000 people will file in through the gates and fill this place with sound again. And when they leave, the system will activate once more. Unseen, efficient, reliable. What makes this operation remarkable is not its complexity. It is the fact that its success is measured by the absence of evidence. A perfectly executed post-event clean leaves behind a building that appears untouched, no trace of 70,000 people, no remnant of the event, just a space, ready. The best version of this work is the version that no one can see was done. There are 72 people listed on tonight's shift register. Each one signed in, each one signed out. Each one responsible for a section, a zone, a task. Their names will not appear in any post-match review. The highlights reel will not include them. But the facility that fans walk into next Saturday, its condition is entirely the result of their work tonight. The noise tonight, the crowd, the singing, the goals, the announcements has entirely dissipated, absorbed into the concrete, replaced by a different kind of occupancy, the quiet occupation of people resetting a space. This, too, is a form of human activity, less celebrated, no less necessary. It is worth noting what the workers know that most fans do not. The stadium is never truly empty during a match. Below the seats, in the tunnels, service corridors, maintenance rooms, equipment stores, there is always movement, always a second population working in the walls of the event. The match takes place on 2 levels simultaneously. Most people only ever see one of them. When the next event day arrives, the stadium will be checked again, a pre-event sweep, a restocking run, a systems test. The operation begins before the gates open and continues long after they close. There is no off-state. There is only the rhythm of events and the maintenance between them, a continuous cycle with no visible seam. The recycling sorted tonight will be processed into raw material within the week. The compost will reach a processing facility by Friday. The general waste will be compressed and transferred. These materials were food wrappers and cups 4 hours ago. They are now part of a different system, a different journey. The chain continues. Maria's team completed 22% ahead of schedule. The deviation from the northwest section, the food cart incident, was absorbed. Her performance log will note the 6-minute delay and the mitigation. She will review it herself on Monday. She is not seeking recognition. She is identifying where the plan can be tightened for next time. At 9:15 a.m., the stadium's public-facing cafe opens for the first time since the event. A staff member turns on the coffee machine, sets out cups, wipes down the counter, a counter that was deep cleaned 7 hours ago. The cafe smells like fresh coffee and nothing else. It is ready. The public will walk through the doors in 45 minutes. They will see exactly what they expect to see. The groundskeeper's report from last night noted the pitch condition as 7.4 out of 10. Satisfactory for the schedule, within the acceptable threshold for a fixture in 4 days. The irrigation schedule has been updated, the wear zones identified. The pitch, like every other part of this facility, has been assessed, recorded, and scheduled back toward readiness. There is something worth pausing on here. Tonight, 70,000 people experienced a shared event. Emotion, noise, collective experience. And when it ended, they went home to sleep, to talk about what they saw, to continue their lives. Behind the building they left, a system activated that most of them will never think about. That system was already in place before the first supporter arrived. It will be there long after the last one stops coming. The lights in the lower concourse go off at 6:30 a.m. The last section to be dimmed, a relay switch in the building management system flicks to standby. The corridor goes dark. The surface that was scrubbed, sorted, inspected, and verified through the night, invisible now, dormant. Ready, the stadium holds its breath until the next 70,000 walk through the gates. Beneath the noise of every major event, there is a second story. Not more important than the first, but inseparable from it. The crowd cannot exist without the infrastructure that holds it. The experience cannot repeat without the system that resets it. What you have seen tonight is not exceptional. It happens every time, everywhere. Unseen, consistent, necessary. Under this video, there's a subscribe button. It's a small action, but it helps reveal the systems most people never notice. If you're curious about how everyday life actually functions, consider subscribing. And tell us, where are you watching from? Have you ever worked behind the scenes of a system like this?